It was not a dream of mine to serve in Washington, D.C. I always thought it was a dysfunctional heap of garbage, and in a lot of ways it is. I'll say this, there's a lot of elected officials, even in D.C., they're lazy as hell. They don't do a damn thing. Their staff does all their work for them. I'm not one of those people. I don't want to be in a position where I'm just sitting there collecting a paycheck and I have a title and a nice office and a staff. You have to raise a lot of money to run for U.S. Congress. It all of a sudden made sense to me that, wait a second, there's something really significant I can do for my country.
Plus, with you, being a politician, I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. So, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Bo. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you, man. It's been a long time.
Yeah, you're lucky. You're one of them that can claim it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Others wish it had been.
So, you're our Lake County councilman. You're also the head of the Republican Lake County Committee, right? Did I say that right?
Yeah, Lake County Republican Party chairman and Lake County councilman.
So, what does that exactly entail as a councilman and also as a committee chairman?
So, councilman is an elected position under the Indiana Constitution created county government. So, this is the fiscal and legislative branch of county government. The commissioners is a 3-member body. That's the executive branch, like the president. So the council serves as both fiscal and legislative, commissioners as executive. So it's a similar makeup to what you see nationally, just on a smaller level. So my county council district's about 75,000 people. It encompasses most of St. John, most of Crown Point, all of Winfield, all of Lowell, all of Cedar Lake, and the unincorporated areas of South Lake County. Now, as a Republican chairman, that is a job that I think I tell people it's part babysitter and part kindergarten teacher and part therapist. But what it is that under the party structure of partisan politics, you have the Republican National Committee, you have the state parties, the Indiana GOP, and then you have 92 counties, each have their own branch of that. So we would be the third down on that chain. So there's 92 Republican county chairs in Indiana, and I'm one of those, and we work under the rules of the Indiana GOP, which works under the rules of the Republican National Committee. So that's kind of how that all connects. The Democrats have a same structure, and then under the party, there's precinct committeemen and vice precinct committeemen that are elected every 4 years, and they are elected party officials, not elected public officials. So it's a different, falls under different governing principles of the Indiana Code. Things like cities and towns are what's called statutory government, which is created by a statute under Title 36 of the Indiana Code, and county government is constitutional.
So as a councilman, what exactly is the role of a councilman, and how does it compare to a representative, a congressman, all of that stuff?
Well, local government's obviously more involved in the nuts and bolts of your day-to-day life. On the county council, we have about a $200 million tax levy that's generated by property taxes. An additional $260 million comes in, $250 million in income taxes, and there's various.
Like anything else, you got to have
other things. So
the
we're
nuts
in
and
charge of
bolts
that,
right,
budgeting
those
and spending
foundational
of that
pieces in order to succeed.
for the services of the county.
Part of it's money.
We don't bleed over.
You have to
into
raise a lot of money
municipal government.
to
Like,
run
they don't
for U.S.
answer to
Congress.
us. We're all governed by a set of laws. There's like guardrails around all of it. And then any laws that are adopted in the county are adopted in the form of an ordinance. So if there are zoning changes or different fiscal ordinances we need to adopt, that's what we do. It's not the most exciting thing for some people, but I love it. I've been doing it now for 17 years, and I find it to be my connection to the founding of this country is by serving in local government. So I love it. It's a great time.
So since you guys basically are you guys basically in charge of the pot of money that comes from property tax? So you decide what schools are going to get, what schools can get upgrades or anything like that, or
We have no say-so over schools. So schools are funded partially through the property tax levy, and that goes directly to them. That doesn't go through the county. And they're also funded by sales tax and some other fees. But the sales tax is governed by the state. Property tax is governed by the county. But no, we don't have any oversight of any other budgets other than the counties.
so all of the county roads, all of the unincorporated parts of the county comes out of that pot, basically.
The jail, the sheriff's department, the court system, the county court system, that's a big expense. Yeah, the recorder's office, the assessor, the auditor, the treasurer, the clerk, all of those are under county government.
That makes complete sense. So then you ran for congressman, right?
Yeah, I sure did.
In
yeah.
2024.
Yeah.
Man, you were all over. I loved what you were doing because you were all over social media. You were. I feel like a lot of politicians typically do grassroots stuff, but I feel like you really leveraged social media where a lot of, at least on the local side, local politicians didn't really do. Obviously, when you get to the national scale, they're obviously leveraging social media quite a bit, but you really leveraged social media compared to, I think, some of the other candidates.
Well, and I don't think I did enough, right?
Really?
I feel like we could have done a lot better. My team hit about 100,000 doors. We were the top in Indiana and one of the tops in the country at door knocking. I felt like, we could have done better on the grassroots side, and it was part of what I learned is where we're deficient still in this district as a party, but is infrastructure, right? And campaigns are a business model, and part of that business model is very much like anything else. You got to have the nuts and bolts right, those foundational pieces, in order to succeed. And part of it's money. You have to raise a lot of money to run for U.S. Congress. And part of it's just building that network. And by no means am I done doing that, right? I'm most likely not going to be running in 26 for Congress, but there will be another at some point in the near future. I never intended to run for the office. It was never something on my bucket list. It was not a dream of mine to serve in Washington, D.C. I always thought it was a dysfunctional heap of garbage, and in a lot of ways it is. But there was one member of Congress I met with when I was exploring the run. His name is Jack Bergman from Michigan's 1st District. He's a retired 3-star general from the Marines, and he and I were having coffee in D.C., and Jack leaned over and he said, "So what's holding you back from making this decision?" And I said, I love what I do locally. I feel like we make a difference. It's something that I can touch, taste, feel, see, right? You see what you're doing instantly. You get instant feedback. And you have an opportunity, like for me on the county council is 1 of 7. I can get a lot of work done. It's 1 of 435. It's dysfunctional. It's a mess. And so Jack said, I was a helicopter pilot. He was a helicopter pilot in the Marines and flew lots of missions in Vietnam. And he said, I've served in Congress and I've served in combat, and I can tell you they're both important service to your country. And that was the one moment where it clicked, where all that negativity that's around our federal government, it all of a sudden made sense to me that, wait a second, there's something really significant I can do for my country.
Yeah.
Because I never wanted to serve in an office and just be an office holder for the title. I want to be a worker. I've worked my entire life since I was 10 years old, and I don't want to be in a position where I'm just sitting there collecting a paycheck and I have a title and a nice office and a staff, but I'm not making any difference.
Yeah.
So at that moment when Jack said that to me, it was like all the light bulbs went off, and I said, okay, this makes sense now. So that burn is there now, right? There's a fire that started, and I love serving here locally, and I'll continue to do that. But when the opportunity is right, I'm going to take another shot at it.
How much time do you have to dedicate to do all of the local service as a councilman? What does it typically look like week to week?
We have 2 meetings a month, so the meeting schedule is pretty mild. Like today, I was at a Board of Elections meeting as a Republican chairman. This time of year, starting in July through October, we have a lot of budget work to do. We have to adopt our budget in October for the following year. So this is really the busy time. It's not an overly grueling position, but it's one of those that if you're going to do it right, you're spending time every week diving into the details. I'll say this, there's a lot of elected officials, even in D.C., they're lazy as hell. They don't do a damn thing. Their staff does all their work for them. I'm not one of those people. I like to read and study and educate myself and make sure that things that we are making decisions on make sense to me.
Sure.
Because I can't explain it to one of my constituents if it doesn't make sense to me.
Sure. Side question: Do you also handle the budgets for all of the bike trails?
That the ones that fall under the county parks department, yeah, we do that. So the parks department's an interesting entity. If you have a park board in Indiana, a parks department, while it falls under the tax levy, almost operates somewhat on its own with its own park board. Now, the park department in Lake County, I'm the budget chairman for that park department. So yeah, if there are trails that are maintained by Lake County parks, then yeah, that falls under our authority.
We got to figure out a way to get the Erie-Lackawanna Trail connected to the other trail on the other side.
So a lot of that trail stuff I actually do in another role that I serve on Northwest Indiana Regional Plan Commission.
Okay.
So what they do is they leverage federal dollars that are geared towards that with local matches, a lot of times through individual municipalities. And so that's a lot of times how you see those corridors getting developed. It's a piece at a time. So it's a difficult process. It takes a ton of money. You have to make sure everything is ADA compliant too, especially when it's federally funded.
Yep.
So there's a lot more detail that goes into it. There's the environmental aspect of it too. If you're laying asphalt down in an area, you have to make sure you're not inadvertently creating a drainage problem.
Yep.
Because wherever you lay asphalt down, that is non-pervious surface. Water doesn't drain, and if you're elevating it, well now you have runoff. Right? You got to manage a lot of aspects of development when you're putting in a simple trail.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. I do get that. There is a lot that goes behind it.
You use trails a lot?
I do. I mean, I like to ride my bike because I fucking hate cardio, man. I hate standing on the treadmill, but to go outside and actually get on the bike, I love that. But we're very limited, right, in where we live because when winter hits, no one wants to go outside.
When I hear people bitching about the hot weather. Like when I go to my gym and they're complaining about it, I say, we get 12 weeks of this per year.
I know, exactly. That's it.
Let's stop complaining. I don't give a shit if it's 115 outside.
Right.
I'm basking in it. Because the other 40 weeks in the Midwest usually suck.
They suck. Yeah. It's true. And when it hits, man, this is a beautiful area. I mean,
great.
The dunes, Lake Michigan, the parks, the trails, it's awesome. But man, when winter hits, it can be brutal.
Yeah, as a kid, I loved it.
Yeah.
But I despise it now. I own a trucking company, and every day you have a snowstorm, you pray you don't get a phone call of some stupid thing that happened. And I just get tired of the stress of that.
Yeah.
I tell my wife all the time, it's like, yep, someday we're going to move the hell out of the snow and some place that has a more moderate climate in the winter, and then we'll just have to figure out what the hell to do in the summer.
So with you running for congressman, now how does that role different than a councilman?
Oh, it's a whole bunch different, right?
Yeah.
It's you see it on TV, right? Media constantly plays one thing after another, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. As a member of Congress, you are part of one of three branches of the federal government, which is the legislative, judicial, and executive. So Congress is that legislative body that has the power of the purse, right? They appropriate the people's money. So there's similarities on a huge scale.
Right.
I didn't realize how big that whole system was until I kind of got in the belly of the beast running for Congress and saw that Washington, really this country, is run by a bunch of 20-something-year-old men and women that wear tennis shoes with their suits, which I don't understand, right? My Generation X mind does not wrap around that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's, and in a bunch of silver-haired men and women that are filling these positions in Congress that, frankly, in a lot of cases, they don't know what the hell they're doing, right? They have very little connection to real life anymore.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was putting in my messaging so much was, hey, I'm a trucker, right? I have 3 million miles of trucking experience. I'm just a regular dude. I've been involved in government a while, but I'm not one of these empty suits. I always tell people, like, you can tell an old politician because they kind of become their own office furniture, right? They look good sitting in the office. They serve a purpose, but that's about it.
Yeah.
They fill a space.
Yeah.
And Washington's full of that. It is, I mean, obviously it's just a mess. The only way to really get that back is to get back to the original intention of the founders, which was to have a real cross-section of society. Term limits would be a huge thing that would help drive that, because the incentive structure to run for federal office is completely upside down. It's no longer about service, it's about power.
I think everyone is feeling that nowadays, because I think that was a big thing that Trump was trying to run on too, right? Is that, drain the swamp, if you will, do the term limits. I mean, when you got people like, she'll deny it all day long, but Nancy Pelosi, that's been a career politician that's now worth, upwards of $300 million or close to it. That goes back to what we used to learn in school in history class, where the elites took everybody's wealth,
Well, it's a feudalist type system when you have that. Now, the dirty little secret in politics that people don't talk about, right, because they don't want people to talk about it, is the salary of a member of Congress, $174,000. That is way above the median salary of the average American. I'm not denying that at all. The cost of rent for a one-bedroom apartment or condo in D.C. is $3,500, $4,000 a month.
Jeez.
And if you have a mortgage here at home too, you can't live off of that and run two households essentially. But politicians often keep their salary low on purpose because it keeps people out. So if you're a union operator and you're making $150,000 a year operating your one household, you got a good lifestyle, a nice family, and you say, you know what, I have a passion for politics, but I'm going to basically go and take a pay cut to do it. Now, you should be willing to sacrifice to serve, but I would say that if every office out there paid a little bit more, you would open the pool for competition. Because right now, if you look at even the county government building, a lot of elected officials you're either retired or independently wealthy. I'm neither. I'm one of those rare guys. I can parcel out my day. People often ask me, how the hell do you get so much done? I said, well, I have 168 hours in a week just like you. I just choose to use more of them to do work than to piss around watching TikTok videos. Right? But there's actually, you look at the Indiana state government, elected officials are pretty lowly paid, and most of them are either independently wealthy or retired. Is that a true cross-section of society? If you have a school teacher who's skilled, who's passionate, who knows government and wants to run for office, they got to make a decision. Do I go and live like a pauper?
Yeah.
And it lessens qualified competition for what I would say are, in some cases, unqualified politicians.
That makes sense. So do councilmen's salaries or pay come out of that coffer that you were mentioning earlier?
Yeah, so in county government, we're paid about $40,000 a year to serve on the county council. Commissioners, I want to say, are in the mid 70s. Theirs is a little more work than being on the council. I don't think any of that's unfair, right? I think those are both really fairly compensated positions. I've never complained about what I've made in government anyways, right? It's never been my main source of income. But what I'm saying is that on a broad scale, if you continue to pay elected officials terrible wages, you will continue to get terrible people.
Yeah.
Right? It's no different than any other profession. I don't think you should be a professional politician for a career. But boy, I always think about what if we could come up with a little different structure that makes it attractive for that person that's working at U.S. Steel that's making a really good living there, and they're sitting there saying, you know what, I think I can do something like this, but they can't run because it would be a huge sacrifice for their family
For sure.
financially to even
Yeah.
pay their bills. So
Right.
I want to see this opened up to more people. I want to see people to be able to, from all walks of life, get back to what the founders intended. And the founders never intended us to make a living off of it either, but they also understood there's a certain amount of sacrifice it takes, but there's also a certain amount of you still have to live,
Yeah.
right? And you look at Thomas Jefferson, when he was done as the president, he was flat broke, and his debts were so much that they were about to take his farm from him. And there were a number of presidents like that. I mean, the Presidential Pension Act wasn't passed until Harry Truman was out of office, because Harry Truman left the office a pauper. Right? And I don't think you want that for American presidents, right? People that stood in the line of fire, sometimes literally, as commander-in-chief. So it's an unpopular thing to talk about because, and I understand why, because government's so dysfunctional. But if you want to really get good people in it, you got to treat it like every other line of work. That let's attract good people. Let's open up the competition, and politicians will say, no, don't do that, right? Because then that protects their little kingdom, and then you have the wrong incentive structure where people like Nancy Pelosi get insider information, and it's known that they get it,
Yeah.
and they make their living off of stock trades unfairly.
Yeah.
And then they become owned by the system.
Yeah.
So I would rather not have someone owned by the system, but have the people own the system.
Yeah, that's yeah, for sure. So let's talk hypothetics. Do you think that you could achieve that locally, where maybe the councilmen and the commissioners and all of that stuff are paid more, that a more livable quote unquote wage?
I don't think we need it here. Like the amount of work I do
Yeah.
for the compensation I get is totally fair.
Gotcha.
There are certain offices that require more of you to be present, where it has to be looked at.
Like a congressman.
Yeah, Congress, state offices, various things where that becomes your only source of income. Because once you're in Congress, like myself as a businessman, I would have to give up my shares, basically put them in a blind trust in order to serve in Congress. So then I lose my entire income, right? So there's that trade-off. And again, your audience, don't get me wrong, right? The sacrifice is part of it. You should be willing to give something
Sure.
to your country, but you still have to pay bills.
Yeah.
It's just the bottom line.
But as you say, I mean, the system is so dysfunctional. I think a lot of people have your mindset where they want to go into office and literally make a change like you're
Yeah.
trying to do. But once they get in, it's so convoluted and dysfunctional and corrupt a lot of ways that they can never make those changes. Because how many people behind you have tried to do the same exact thing? Term limits, all the things that you're talking about, right? That make complete sense, that I think a lot of people would agree with. But like you also said, people want to protect their kingdoms and they can't make those changes. So how do you think you can make those changes when the system is so dysfunctional, as you say?
Yeah, it's truly a one at a time type thing. Like the dysfunction didn't start today. It's been going on really since the beginning.
Sure.
If you look at those early meetings of the Constitutional Conference, where some of our founders and other people got together in Philadelphia to go over some of that, they were, I mean, hell, there was a duel between Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton, right? I mean, people would shoot each other and they would threaten each other on the floor of Congress. So this dysfunction and this lunacy is part of self-government, right?
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of it that we're all from such different perspectives. It's going to exist. But it starts with just one. You know, it starts with little movements, little opportunities, taking advantage of what you have in front of you. But really, it starts locally. All politics at the end of the day is local.
Yeah.
So I would just encourage anybody in your audience that if they want to get in this, don't look at the headlines, because remember, if you're consuming news on the right or the left, they're still selling you a product,
Yes.
right? That headline is meant to get you to click on it.
Yeah.
The story is meant to get you to read through it. The longer you read through it on an online platform, the more money the creator gets.
Yep.
The more ad revenue it generates. We've got to put things in perspective here. But if you have a passion and you want to serve, like really serve, think about what that means, then jump in, get yourself connected with some folks who do it and that have the same sort of viewpoint as you, and learn how to do it. It's really not that hard. If you can add, subtract, multiply, divide, remember who the hell you work for, it's really not that hard.
Yeah. Do you think, what do you think of where the GOP is, the direction it's headed right now? Are you in alignment? Where do you kind of stand with where the GOP is at?
Really, I mean, honestly, my party was about dead before Donald Trump came along. He breathed life into it. He created an entirely new movement. He connected Republicans to audiences that they'd never connected with. The old Republican Party, I call it the C-suite Republican Party, right? It was a bunch of guys in $5,000 suits in a C-suite of a company that basically ran it.
Yeah.
So you see a shift, which I like the shift. And I think there's a lot more work to do to get it reconnected to the roots of our country. What people forget is, you know, in this whole debate was going on about the big, beautiful bill, and the minority leader, Jeffries, stood up in the House and did a 7-hour presentation. You know what the longest filibuster was in the history of the United States Senate?
Wasn't it like 40 some hours?
75 hours.
Jesus.
It was Democrats filibustering the civil rights movement.
Really?
So they claimed to be the party of civil rights, but it was a Republican, Everett Dirksen from Illinois, that was the pivotal swing in passing the Civil Rights Act, 1964. So those things are always kind of fun to look at.
Yeah.
The dysfunction of my party has been under scrutiny, and it should be, because so many people will campaign on conservative foundational values and then get in office and do exactly the opposite. You know, there's this President Eisenhower in his farewell speech talked about the military-industrial complex. Well, I'm here to tell you that the industrial complex goes much further than just military. It is in every appropriations bill that runs through Congress is attached to some kind of industry. It's trillions of dollars. The amount of consultants and lobbyists and corporations and NGOs and other things that we're finally starting to shed some light on that's attached to every bill is frightening. You think about what's appropriated locally here, you'll see the headlines in the paper, and you start to calculate, well, how much does it take to spend in federal dollars to create one job? When if the free market was allowed to work and the federal government didn't confiscate your money, how much better could you do with it as a businessman? And I think you know from your experience in business that you could do a hell of a lot better with a hell of a lot less than what the federal government takes to create one job. So my party needs to do a much better job at staying true to the principles, staying connected to the people. Republicans are starting to move out of the C-suite and into the bulldozer and the truck and the lawnmower and the hospital as a nurse. You know, my daughter's a nurse, very blue-collar job, but that's the type of people that seem to be carrying some of those conservative values, and we have to stop ignoring them.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. A lot of what you see out there, it's there's so much mis and disinformation out there when it comes to both parties, really. You know, not just the GOP, but also the Democrats as well. So it's really hard to. I think for people, it's really hard to find out like what's the truth, what's facts, you know, because like you said, it's all clickbait. These media agencies are trying to, you know, get you to click on their stuff because you get more views gets more ad revenue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's why you see like platforms like this, like podcasts getting more popular because they're not emboldened to a lot of that, you know, the ad revenue and all that stuff that dictates the narrative.
Yeah, and the long form podcast, it's conversational like this, where we can say things, and yes, will somebody inevitably take a clip of this on me and try and use it against me? Absolutely, they will. I don't give a shit. Go for it, right? It's I've been vetted. I've had my opponent last year. There was firms out of D.C. that were digging through everything, literally. Public records requests being made for everything I've ever done, including my business entities. I'm sure there were people following me. They call them trackers, right? Whenever you have an event, it's that person you see in the back of the room that you don't recognize, looks kind of out of place, and both parties do it.
That's crazy.
So you know what? You want to follow me? You're going to be really freaking bored. Okay, because when I'm out working, I'm working. That's just what I'm doing. So they can soundbite, they can clip things, and a lot of times people are afraid. And I think what's so endearing about President Trump to the average person is that he does not give a damn if you clip what he says. He doesn't give a shit. He rolls with it, and he owns it. And for most people are like, yeah, finally a guy that's not afraid to just say it. And to me, that's what's missing in general on both sides of the aisle is it's not trying to be outrageous, just be yourself.
Yeah.
And if there's something that you believe in, go ahead and say it and back it up. And if somebody else doesn't like it, that's okay. That's what makes this the greatest country in the world is that it started on a disagreement, on an argument with the king. So here we are. Why can't we just do that? But boy, we have to filter everything. I hate filtering. My team, when I ran for Congress, wanted to filter absolutely everything that we did with media. And I hated that stuff. Like that was one of my least favorite parts of running. I had to look at my campaign manager a couple of times and say, do you trust me? I mean, am I just a complete jackass and I don't know what I'm doing? Just let me be myself, right? So much of what you see is made for TV. So if people are looking for a made for TV politician, I'm not that guy. I'm just me, and you might disagree with some of my stances. That's okay. We're American. We can do that.
Yeah. Civil discourse, right?
Of course. Yeah, we don't have to see it from the same viewpoint.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that when you call me as your county councilman, that even if you vehemently disagree with me, you come on social media, you rip me to shreds, I'm still going to answer that phone or I'm going to call you back because I have a job to do. Right? We can disagree some other time.
Yeah.
I've never asked a person that's ever called me if they voted for me because I don't care.
Yeah.
You do or you don't. That's the beauty of the system.
Well, I've done it with you, right? I mean, when I would see you at my other club, you know, you'd be working out and we would get into some like mini debate about something. You know, that's one thing I would say is like you would just reply back calmly, you know, and give a very good argument against what I was saying, you know. That's a hard quality because me, my Italian temper gets going, right? It just, no, you know, and you want to start yelling. But yeah, it's especially on when you start dealing with the keyboard warriors. I don't know how you could handle that.
Well, you learn to laugh at it,
Yeah.
right? When people are talking shit about you online, it's because they're pathetic. Honestly, I mean, it's someone that's jealous of your position,
Yeah.
that holds themselves in a high regard, but they have low self-esteem at the same time. Right? So they have to try and tear you down and get other people to like what they're saying. Yeah, that's right. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been called that before. And if you want to run against me, you know, next year there'll be an election. You're allowed to sign up if you live in the 7th district of Lake County, and I'm just going to warn you that I am no wallflower as a campaigner. So
Yeah.
if you want to get on the horse, giddy up, let's do it.
I started doing that with our gym social media pages when we were doing the rebrand and renovating the space. You know, I painted some of the walls black and whatnot, and like we had one guy comment and said, you know, whose decision was it to paint it black? That looks absolutely terrible. So I replied back as the gym, not as myself. I'm like, well, your mom's the one that gave us the idea, you know. Or we had another guy that would,
You know, your mom stuff never gets old for us
gets
Gen
old,
Xers, right?
yeah, that's right.
I mean, we were using that stuff back in elementary school.
Right. Well, I had another guy that would say, you know, God, you know, the place is a dump. It's always looks like shit. But like we literally like had just renovated. It was like super clean, the best it's ever looked. And he's saying this stuff. We happen to pull up his account. He hadn't been here in like 5 years. You know, so you comment back like, bro, you haven't even been here in 5 years. What are you even saying? You know?
Yeah, put down the flaming hot Cheetos and come on into the
Right.
gym for a sweat session,
Right.
Or shut the hell up, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
no the keyboard warrior stuff. I get a kick out of it. Like there was an article in a paper recently about a proposal I have for some government reform here in Lake County that came from Senate Enrolled Act 1 from this last legislative session in Indianapolis, and some of the comments on there were hilarious. Like they're
Yeah.
just completely coming after me. It's I don't know. I find it humorous. I know that the people that are doing that don't have the work ethic or the ability to look at things that I'm looking at, go through the process that I go through, and make good decisions. All they have is opinions.
Yeah.
And when I mentor young candidates, I always tell them, like, you can get elected to office as an activist, like AOC, right? But you can't govern as one. You become completely ineffective when all you have is opinions. When you have no ideas of how to actually solve a problem, solutions, you can't do anything in government without solutions. You know that as a businessman.
Yeah.
You can have opinions about things all day long, but unless you have an idea how the hell to solve a problem, doesn't matter what your opinion is.
That's
Your
right.
opinion doesn't count.
That's right.
It's what the hell you do to pay your bank note, right? To pay your utility bill, to pay your employees,
Yep.
to invest in your business. Opinions don't mean shit.
Yeah.
And so I just look at it like that.
Yeah. That's a good attitude to have.
Yeah.
So you said you're not going to run in 26, you don't think?
It's, you know, I never say never with some of this stuff because the landscape is so it's so fluid all the time, and I'm still in. I discuss things with people. I'm in touch with a lot of folks in the federal government. I got a great network now and have built good relationships with people. I mean, last year the Speaker of the House was in Gary doing a fundraiser with me, for me. Jim Jordan from Ohio did the same thing. Had Elise Stefanik from New York out here in Maryville doing a fundraiser with me. Rudy Yakum from Indiana's 2nd District. I've just built a lot of relationships with people that I still have relationships with them. I mean, Mike Collins, a congressman from Georgia, who's a fellow trucker, came up here and we went door to door together.
Oh,
right?
really?
He flew up here to go door to door with me. It was cool. I mean, here I am, just a hillbilly middle class kid, you know, from Cedar Lake, and what the hell am I doing here, right?
Yeah.
It was one of those moments where you kind of pinch yourself when I'm standing there with the Speaker of the House next to me, and we're talking about issues, or I was sitting in the office of the whip in the Capitol talking about a legislative agenda, you got to pinch yourself once in a while, but really they're just regular people. And we have to stop making celebrities out of everyone. So it was quite an experience. I enjoyed doing it. I loved meeting so many people. Like that was so rewarding. I got the most votes of any Republican in the history of the district, but we got a hell of a lot more work to do in turning door knocking and turning voter contacts into votes. So many people that we contacted never showed up on election day.
Really?
Like we have that data. And if those people would have showed up, I'd be in D.C. right now. And people be cussing at me about something else, right? So, it's executing the plan, right? It's no different if you're sending out mailers to try and get people to your gym. What's your rate of return?
Right.
Same sort of metrics exist in campaigning.
Yeah.
We're looking at the same information. So it's figuring out that magic formula, which there's really no magic formula. It's just hard work.
Is it a natural progression in politics to go from a councilman to a congressman, or could you go councilman to governor, or how does that work, or even state congressman? How does that work?
There's really no progression. If you're a person that can connect with people, build name recognition's huge. Have a good message, know how to articulate it, raise money. You can go from nothing to president. I mean, honestly, you could. It's hard because of how the system is set up for you not to be able to do that. Now, it helps as someone that's been in politics for a while that I have a bit of a brand name. You know, people see my name in the newspaper. But I would encourage anybody out there that if you're really passionate about it and you want to learn, and you want to learn about more than what you think, right? What your opinion is. You want to learn about how the law works, how the system all fits together, and what you can do to impact something positively. Do it. Jump in. Don't be afraid. I mean, I say this when I speak in places. If you're lucky enough to be born here, you owe some kind of service to this great country. So many people have sacrificed the ultimate sacrifice so we can do what we do. And if we're going to carry on the seeds of that revolution in 1776, and by God, some people better step up. I don't care if it's serving your church, working a tag day out at a stoplight, handing out Tootsie Rolls for a Lions Club. I don't care what the hell it is. Do something for something other than you. That's what makes this country so unbelievably great, is when people are just willing to do it.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in politics, learn, show up for local meetings, jump in, get to know people, build relationships. You'd be surprised how far it can take you. Just kicking the door open, saying, "Hey, I'm Bo, and you know what? I'm kind of interested in this stuff," and start asking questions, get some phone numbers, and away you go.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how it's just old-fashioned human interaction and relationships, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a position where, holy shit, how did I get on this plan commission, right? Or how did I end up running for this office? Well, that's how.
Yeah.
Just there's no qualifications. You don't have to have a degree. The only thing is, to be president, you have to be 35 years old and been born here in this country. Okay.
Yeah.
There's your qualifications, right?
Yeah.
And so I just would encourage anyone, don't be discouraged by what you see on TV, but get off your ass and do something about it.
Your business that you run, it's family business. It's been open for over 100 years, right?
Yeah. So great-grandfather was a German immigrant, was a farmer. And in German, my name actually means new farmer. So from the Hanover area of Germany, there's still a homestead there that my relatives that are still there live there. But he came to Center Township between Cedar Lake and Crown Point and started a dairy farm. And he and his cousins in that area all had dairy farms, and great-grandpa had a team of horses and started hauling cans of milk from his farm and his cousins' farms to the train depot in Crown Point, and Crown Point also had a local creamery at that time, and where they'd make butter and different things because there was no interstate system, so it all had to be really localized. And so that's how it all started, was a team of Percheron horses and a wagon and a German immigrant who liked to drink whiskey. And sometimes the horses had to take him home because he was in no condition to get home for chores. So.
Yeah.
But they had 11 kids and 5 boys and 6 girls, and all 5 of the boys at one time hauled milk from dairy farms. They all had their own businesses, and then that kind of split off, and then it ended up my grandfather and his brother Ed had separate businesses, and then my dad bought out my grandpa and my great uncle Ed, and then my brother and I bought out my dad back in 2016. So it's carried on, right? It's a tough business. It's 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We're moving 20 to 22 loads a day, regardless of whether Santa Claus is working his fat ass through people's chimneys or if it's the 4th of July and there's a parade, right? We're still trucking milk. So it takes a lot of dedication to feed this country, and I'm proud to work for farmers and be a part of something significant. It won't make you rich, but my family's never missed a meal.
Yeah. Does your family still have cow farms, or are you strictly just trucking now?
Yeah, we just do the trucking. I tell my dairy farmer customers, I'm like, you guys milk the cows. I don't want any part to do with that, but leave the trucking up to me, right?
Yeah.
That's what we do. So I got my CDL when I was 18. Started actually driving a truck before that when I was about 14, hauling water to swimming pools in an old tanker truck that my grandpa had. And that was how I learned. It was just that. Grandpa one day came in the house. I was playing Nintendo. Take you back a few years. And he said, hey, what are you doing today? I said, well, I got baseball practice later. He goes, you know how to drive that old 1976 International? And I said, yeah, I think so. I've ridden it enough times. He goes, good, follow me. That was all the training. My mom was beside herself. My grandpa's name was Adolf, and it was a family name until that idiot ruined it, right? But she goes, Adolf, he doesn't even have his license. He goes, I don't give a damn. He can reach the pedals. Let's put him to work. And there I went to work, and it was an awesome experience. I learned a lot about people doing that, because Grandpa also gave me the task of collecting money for the job. And although people would agree to your price, at the end they would try to negotiate it. And I had to be tough enough as a teenager to know how to stand up and say no.
Wow.
So Grandpa taught me a lot about business and about people, and very grateful for those opportunities. You know, it's really cool to work a blue collar job like that as a kid.
You don't really hear much of that anymore.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, my son's now running a concrete mixer for Smith. He started when he was 20 there. He was the youngest guy there at the company, and he's 21 now, and he's doing great. Like, I value seeing young people not make excuses. Just
I agree.
Go out and get your ass going.
Yeah.
And show up on time every day. When your boss asks you to do something, don't argue with them. Just do it. If it's legal, do it. And thankfully, both my kids have taken that path in life where my daughter's a nurse when they need someone to step up and run an extra shift. She's a NICU nurse down in Nashville at Vanderbilt University, and she just raises her hand, says, yeah, let's go, right? There's so much you can gain from that attitude.
Yes.
Because it's so rare today.
It is.
And I did that with politics. I just raised my hand, said, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And there I went.
Yeah.
It's just the craziest damn thing. And I hope that young people that listen to this, you get out of high school, don't sit around and find yourself. Just start doing something.
Yeah.
Because once you're in the game starts to kind of form around you. And then you have so many opportunities just from being active in it.
So then hypothetically, let's say you run for congressman again, you win, then how do you manage your business?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of those things that, I thought about that. I was training some of my staff to do some of the things that I do, but I mean, we suffered when I ran for Congress. It was quite a sacrifice. We had to really work hard to keep the doors open. Once the race was over, and we kind of regrouped, and I'm still kind of digging out of that hole. But again, we would have to try and just piece it together. It wouldn't be easy. I'm under no illusions that it's hard to replace leadership in anything, and I'm replaceable. But there's certain things that I think myself and my brother, who he's my partner, that we bring to the table that really nobody else can in a family business. So, yeah, in all honesty, I don't know how long it would last if I did something like that. But again, you gotta look at what are you willing to give to leave this place better than you found it. And I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to work. And if it takes sacrificing things personally to know that when I'm laying on my deathbed, I feel like I did my part.
Yeah.
That all the blood, sweat, and tears of so many generations before me didn't go in vain, then that's a pretty good way to die with a satisfied mind.
Yeah. If Congressman's it's full time, right? Like you're in session year round. You're in D.C. How often are you in D.C.?
Yeah, most of it's like Monday through Thursday. Sometimes when there's things like the big beautiful bill that passed, right, it'll go into the weekends. And but yeah, you have certain times where you're on recess in the summer and in the fall. But yeah, and even when you're here back in your district, you're meeting with local mayors and working out of your district office and going to community events and being visible and accessible. If you're going to be good at what you do as an elected official, you have to be visible and accessible. So, yeah, it's something you have to work at.
Yeah.
It's not meant for people that have no ability to motivate themselves.
Yeah. Speaking of the big beautiful bill, what are your thoughts on it?
I don't know if it addresses the fundamental issues, right? And I know that it was my party that pushed it through. Listen, I congratulate the Republicans for actually getting some legislation done. My party has had an inability to govern for quite some time. And so I was glad to see that move through. There are some great aspects of it when it comes to the tax structure for middle-class families. I mean, what would have happened if that bill would not have passed would have been devastating to middle-class families, just devastating. There are some good things in it, but it still doesn't address the fundamental issue that we spend one hell of a lot more than what we take in.
Well, not only that, but they've increased the debt limit by $5 trillion, right?
Yeah, it's just getting a bigger credit card all the time. And
Right.
you and I both know that when government is printing money, spending in a deficit, it's essentially confiscating it from you by diluting the system. It's like I saw Thomas Massey, who's on Trump's shit list right now, take one of his colleagues' tea, put it in front of him, dumped water in it. He said, well, that's what happens when you put a bunch of money in the system. You took tea that was pretty tasty and good and nice caffeine content, nice color, and it turned this weird color almost like water. It was diluted.
Yep.
I mean, that's as simple as you can explain it. And what happened when the Biden administration blew out the spending early in his administration with some of those bills, trillions of dollars, is you pumped all this cash into the system, even stimulus checks, $1,400 in somebody's pocket.
Yeah.
Well, nobody was working, so you didn't have anything to produce to buy with that money. So you had too much money chasing too few goods.
Yeah.
And you ended up with massive inflation. But who made out during the inflation? And this is what cracks me up about Democrats saying that the Republicans' bill is benefiting only rich people. There were more billionaires created under President Biden than either of Trump's terms so far. Because what happened was when you inflated the currency like that, people that had assets that make their living off of assets, investors, their assets became worth more.
Yep.
It gave them more power in the banking system to use your cash to buy more assets to expand their wealth.
I can attest to that because, as you know, my one business is real estate syndication. And so we've been looking at deals nonstop. And the price escalation in the commercial sector of some of these asset classes, multifamily, storage, industrial, I mean, we're talking 100% growth in just a few years. That's unheard of.
And then you can take that equity
Correct.
and leverage that.
Right.
And so when people were all celebrating this stimulus and all this spending, I'm like, holy shit, all we're doing is making the top 1% even richer. Because anybody that owned assets during that, whether it be, real property or it was investments in businesses that were asset-based, anybody that had assets got really richer. And if you had $100 in your pocket and inflation spiked by 20%, that $100 became 80.
Yeah.
So the buying power of that just went down. So if you were making a wage, your ability to leverage your wage for your needs of your life was in peril.
Yeah.
And we're still digging out of that. But we seem to be digging out of it by taking a shovel, standing in the middle of the hole, and continuing to dig.
Yeah.
Right? So at a certain point, you have to radically reform the government to cut the spending. But I saw Senator Kennedy say this, I'm for cutting spending. Yeah, but that one project, right? But that project in my district's so important. We have to stop that shit for a little bit of time here, get this ship righted, and stop all this misappropriation of taxpayer money because government has $0. It creates nothing.
Right.
It's the people's money.
Right.
I'm a taxpayer, and I treat the budget that I'm in charge of like it's mine.
Right.
And in Washington, that doesn't happen. That appropriations process, like I said earlier, it is the government industrial complex. It feeds the system.
Yeah.
And that system is greedy and hungry and fat, and it's on both sides of the aisle. They can all point their fingers at each other as much as they want. That's all bullshit.
Yep.
That whole thing exists to perpetuate itself. And until we create the incentive structure that allows for average people to take a shot at running and winning and serving and still being able to take care of their own families, we're going to continue to get this.
Yeah.
It's an entirely segregated class of people that do this.
Yeah. And this is not in my opinion, this is not a party narrative, right? It doesn't matter what party you're a part of. It's all the same BS, right? I mean, do you know who the largest employer is in the United States?
Yeah, it's the government.
It's the government.
Yeah.
They employ the most amount of people. That's not how the system is supposed to be set up because the private sector can do it way more efficiently than what the government can. And I always use, people will argue with me on this, but I always use the post office as an example. The post office never makes money. It's always being fed more money to keep operating. That says something about the government. It cannot efficiently run things outside of even the military in some cases is inefficient the way they spend money. But if those people that were government employees were part of the private sector, I think you could have a lot more production in the marketplace than what the government can do,
I think there's certain services within government that
Sure.
need to be looked at for privatization. But I think there are certain services that also need to remain public.
Sure.
Right? So there is a balance in the whole system. But it's a greedy little pig, right? As much as you'll feed it, it'll eat.
Yeah.
So until the people that are in charge of doling out the feed decide to cut the rations, it'll keep eating.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter the party.
No.
Both sides of it. I mean, Indiana's run by a Republican supermajority. I think there's way too much bureaucracy in Indianapolis. Illinois is run by a Democrat supermajority, and they have the same problem. So it's it exists everywhere. Again, it's about the type of people that we're attracting to this industry is not the type of people that are necessarily looking to do the work for the right reasons.
I mean, look what Elon found when he did when he developed the Doge, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much of that is true, right? I've read on both sides how some of it is bullshit, what he found, and some of it's true. But, you know, he was looking into Social Security, that there was people that were still dead that were getting checks. He was finding just so many inefficiencies in terms of how the government operates. You know, they're still using paper in some instances. They're not even using computer programs that could speed things up, or even what USAID or USAID was doing with some of the money, you know?
I think most of what he discovered is true. You ever heard of the Festivus report?
No.
So it's a report that Senator Rand Paul does every year around Christmas time. It's called the Festivus report. And it's where he outlines this ridiculousness of government spending. The $1 million for giving frogs cocaine and seeing what their breeding habits are, right? Stupid, ridiculous shit like that. You think there's no way that's true. Yeah, it is. We do some dumb stuff with taxpayer money. And then in local government, most cities and towns run very tight, right?
Yeah.
Because they're highly regulated financially by the state. Some county governments get out of hand. Lake County government's bloated. I always tell people that we have nice people working at the county government center, some folks that are great with customer service. Some have been there a long time, but it's analog, right? Everything's been digitized, but you go into county government, it's like a time capsule.
Yes.
Let's walk back 40 years and see how it used to be done.
Yeah.
Well, with the Senate Enrolled Act 1, we have to modernize. We've got financial management software systems that could do a lot of the work of your average department clerk, right? And we don't want to see people out of work, but government has to live within its means. It's harder and harder and harder for the average taxpayer to pay that bill. Damn it, we should take those steps too. And so I'm a big proponent of looking for that wherever you can. It doesn't mean that it just applies, like Doge doesn't apply to everything, but the larger the government unit, the more opportunities there are to reform.
Yeah.
And in your small towns and cities, it's normally really tight. It's squeaky tight. But as you get into county, state, and federal government, there's always room to improve.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I'll get in debates with people, you know, or I'll listen to debates where people say we should be taxing the rich more or taxing people more or whatever. But my argument is always, again, this is not party affiliation. This, to me, is common sense. You, as a consumer, can do more with your dollar than what the government can. You can create more jobs with your dollar if you get to keep it rather than handing it over to the government. A very brief example is, I don't know if you remember this back in 2008 when the recession hit in this area. You know, we were, at the time I was doing construction, and we were pretty heavy in the mills, in the steel mills. And I still remember to this day where the mill called us up and said, get out. We were contractors, right? They said, get out. The economy had literally plummeted that much that they told all of the contractors doing work to get out. Now, keep in mind, the contractors are the ones that were doing all the repair and maintenance on their facilities because they didn't have enough personnel to maintain the facility. So they kick us all out. The only project that was going on in this area was when BP was doing the expansion for the Canadian crude, bringing the Canadian crude in to refine it. It was a multi-billion-dollar project. That project is what saved this area because of the waterfall effect of what that project did to all the local businesses, because you're now hiring all the contractors that got kicked out of the steel mills, which keep people employed, and then all the residual jobs that happen behind that, whether it's people needing their safety equipment, people are needing pamphlets for how operations work, people needing the food to run luncheons or whatever they're doing. It was just massive, the amount that was going on. But moral of the story is the private sector was able to maintain those jobs versus if the government was doing that, where would that go? That money would basically just stay in the government and get filtered out in wasteful spending.
It's funny that, there's some unions that still like only back Democrats.
Yeah.
And I look at how many people work in government compared to how many work in manufacturing. 25 million people work in government. 12 million work in manufacturing. I think the union membership nationwide is somewhere around 15 million. That's upside down.
Yeah.
They're basically supporting their own demise because it's the skilled tradesmen and women who make the wages that basically pay a lot of the taxes, along with that upper 1% pays a lot of taxes too. But for the most part, like especially locally, a lot of those taxes are generated by those middle class people, and
Yeah.
so they're basically supporting their own demise when you create conditions where you have twice as many government workers as private sector. And when you have a recession, the government never feels a pinch, right? Everybody still gets a paycheck.
Yep.
And you, as a contractor, you got your ass kicked out of the mill.
Yep.
And they said, nope, we can't support this anymore. You're out. We got to start behaving more like a business in government. Now, there are differences, right? You still have constitutional duties of services you must provide. But we can still run it with a business sense and stop all the duplication just because we like the people that are working there. Well, I like the people that I work for, the 75,000 people I represent in Lake County. I feel pretty passionate about doing that work for them.
It's funny you mentioned the unions because I recently was researching this. 40 years ago, the union skilled workforce was made up of 30% of the skilled workforce labor, unions. That skilled workforce, union labor, union skilled workforce makes up less than 10 in 40 years' time. So imagine what another 20 years it's going to look like.
Yeah, and the funny thing is you saw a lot of that erosion take place under Democrat leadership. But Republicans do the same sort of crap too, with creating conditions where it's more beneficial for industry to leave here
Yeah.
and go pollute somewhere else with a lower regulatory environment and then sell us their crap on Amazon. Right? But we have a job to do here in this country to onshore production again. 1970 was about the height of the middle class, and you had an economy that was about 30% production, manufacturing, and 10% government. Now it's over 30% government spending and 10% manufacturing. That's unsustainable because where does government get its money? It gets its money from you. And if you earn a wage, you are the target because it's taken out of your check automatically. Somebody that earns their money in dividends and assets and different sorts of transactional type business, the government doesn't get the money first. They get it last. And if you earn a wage, you get a paycheck, the government gets their money first. You get yours last. So if you think that somehow Democrats are going to tax the rich and that's going to solve all the problems of the world, you're full of shit. Because more billionaires donated to Democrats in this last presidential cycle than what they did Republicans. I get so tired of hearing that crap. In general, government is after the wage earner. But until the wage earner starts getting actual representation of being elected officials in these state and federal government jobs, then that representation won't be there on either side of the aisle.
Do you think that should be flip-flop, where the transactional is taxed before the wage earner?
I mean, a lot of the transactional stuff is on theoretical gain, right? Until you capitalize some of that gain, it's hard to tax something not capitalized.
Yep.
So that's the difficulty in this. Do I think that there's room to improve the system? Absolutely. But in general, the best way to solve some of these cost of living and taxation issues is for government to shrink, is to stop doing so much. Do what it was created for and nothing more. And until we get to that, you could reshuffle that deck a million times. This Mamdani in New York is all these socialist. Wherever socialism has been tried, it's failed.
Failed. Yep.
Because it creates an incentive structure where there's no reason for anybody to work harder than that next person. There's no incentive to be excellent at anything. You just take whatever's there, you live a miserable life, and you die. There's no personal agency over your outcomes. That's the wrong incentive structure. So, again, until government balances itself, lives within its means, you can shuffle that deck a million different ways. It's still going to be the same shit. Because no matter who's paying the bill, if you're going to continue to increase the debt ceiling and continue to spend more than you take in, the wage earner's still paying the bill.
Yeah.
No matter what.
The ironic thing, too, is so last year I went and did a tour of Gettysburg. And so we got a guided tour with a historian that talked about the whole story of Gettysburg. And I mean, just unbelievable what those men went through. Literally leaving their farms to go and try and defend the country based on the values that they believed in at the time, North versus South. A lot of people, here's what I learned. A lot of people thought that the Civil War was mostly about slaves. But in actuality, the reigning theme behind the Civil War was the North wanted states' rights. The South wanted federal rights. And so the ironic thing is now you're still seeing it to this day, 100 and almost 40 years later, where we're still trying to figure out what's, giving back the states' rights versus what's keeping federal rights. For example, Department of Education. Trump wants to abolish the Department of Education, which is a federal agency. Trump wants to give the states' rights, the education, back to the states and let them decide. Here we are 140 years later, still fighting about the same shit.
Yeah, it's repackaged, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
And it's more consumable, like information moves so much slower back then. But yeah, that was at the core of almost every internal struggle we've had over our history has been that is who gets to decide, right? And I'm a big fan of, hey, local government. I go to the same grocery stores as my constituents, the community events. I can't hide from them. They can come up to me in the bread aisle and call me an asshole, and right, I'm accessible.
Yeah.
The further they get away from you, the less accessible they are, and the easier it is to forget who the hell you work for. So, yeah, well, like the Department of Education, turn it over to the states. Give the people of each state the ability to choose their destiny. And if those outcomes don't work, then guess what? You have the ability directly to change that. That is the ultimate in being a democratic republic, right? We're a republic. That's the power in self-government, is when you empower state, county, and local government with some agency over their own outcomes, then you give that power back to the voter.
Yeah.
Taking it away from a central government is always the right thing to do, in my opinion, except for those things that are outlined in the Constitution that belong only to the federal government. And it's very few things that were enumerated in the Constitution that belong only to the federal government. Most of it kicks back to the states. The states have their own constitutions that then kick certain duties to the counties and to the locals. That's how this is supposed to work. The federal government should be doing a hell of a lot less than what it does.
Yeah, totally. Slight switch gears here back to the states. I'm curious on your opinion. So another thing that I was researching lately, which I didn't know, is a lot of our state colleges. For example, here in Indiana, we've got IU, Purdue, right? Which, call me dumb, but I didn't even really know those were considered state colleges.
Yeah, public universities.
Public universities. Yeah. My question is this. I think it was something like 30 or 40% of the state's budget goes to the higher education universities. Not total, but sorry, the educational budget. Roughly, I think it was somewhere around 30 or 40% was going to those universities. Why does any part of the budget go to that university when they charge so much damn money to go there?
There was a documentary that John Stossel did some years ago, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, that was about education cost and how as government has kicked money into education, it has increased in costs exponentially as government continues to feed it. It gets fatter and it needs more feed. I mean, you know that as a trainer, like somebody that weighs 400 pounds, their maintenance calories are much higher than someone that weighs 150 pounds.
100%.
Right? So it's the same thing with government, that once you expand your spending into an institution or an agency like that of a university, it never shrinks because the maintenance calories, the maintenance money to keep it going just keeps going higher and higher and higher because it keeps getting fatter.
Yeah.
So I think that when you turn over education spending 100% to the states and you don't have that buffer of the federal government anymore, that's going to create more accountability and actually help to create more cost controls. You look at what Mitch Daniels did as the president of Purdue. During his, I think it was 10 years as the president, they never raised the tuition one time. Now, room and board went up because that's market-based, right? The cost of living, cost of housing, cost of utilities, cost of food. But the tuition, he kept steady. And it's a model in how to do this. But until you give real control to the people over that part of the budget, and you keep feeding these universities more and more and more and more, they're just going to take more to maintain their size, and the costs will continue to go up. My daughter went to the University of Alabama. The reason she went there, I sent her there cheaper than it would have been to send her to Purdue.
Really?
Yeah. Because Alabama has a program that's based on merit. Imagine merit, right, in our society. If you get certain test scores, you get certain levels of scholarships. She got a 31 on the ACT out of 36, so worked her ass off, too. She took it a bunch of times. We paid for the tutoring here locally at Sylvan Learning Center. A great investment, right? We didn't have the money at the time, but we wanted her to succeed, so we just sacrificed. And she ended up getting a 31. That qualified her for $96,000 in scholarships over 4 years. Alabama has a very aggressive program where they're taking the money that is being allotted to them by their state and by the federal government. They're actually investing it in attracting good students and people that are going to leave their university and be productive. So it's a great business model they have there, that they're investing in the students, not just the administration. The football program there creates the money to invest in infrastructure.
Sure.
Like kids that go to college at Alabama, it's like going to Disney World. Everything's new. It's all great. And we enjoyed spending time there. But she got accepted in a nursing program there right away. And she was a 4.0 student in high school, 31 on the ACT. And they didn't take her in a nursing program at Purdue when she applied there.
Wow.
And one of the most shocking things, I'll tell you, it's kind of a change of subject, is my wife is 100% Puerto Rican. Grew up in Gary. Her parents are both born in Puerto Rico. My daughter, by marriage and birth, is 50% Puerto Rican, right? So technically, under law, a minority. Well, she's got white skin, blue eyes, blonde hair, and a white last name, right?
You
A
got
European
some
last
strong
name.
genes, Randy.
Well, my son's got the dark skin, dark hair, and brown eyes, so they're just total opposites. The point is, she went to Alabama, joined a sorority, a really prestigious sorority. First week, for an entire week, they spent on DEI training where they were telling my daughter, who is technically a minority, who's Puerto Rican, that since she has white skin, that somehow she is involved in systemic racism.
Oh my God.
And that she has some kind of an advantage over someone else. Such bullshit. And I'm so glad to see some of this stuff being pushed out.
Yeah.
And this was at a conservative university that has a merit-based system for scholarship. But when you join a sorority, they dive into all this stupid social engineering shit.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
My daughter is a minority legally, and they're telling her that she's racist.
So what was her response to them?
She called me. She said, "Dad, what do I do?" I said, "You want to be in that sorority?" She said, "Yeah, I do." I said, "Okay. Can you put your head down and just push through this?" She said, "Yeah, I can." So she did. But it made her very uncomfortable. And it pissed me off as her dad, right? We never
Yeah.
raised our kids to believe in any of that stuff
Yeah.
because they're from a mixed race marriage, right? We don't teach those values. We
Right.
never taught them to hate anyone.
Right.
But boy, the university sure as hell did. So when I see them getting a haircut and they practice that kind of garbage that doesn't create a more harmonious society that's based on merit, based on your qualifications and effort, I am so happy to see them getting a haircut.
It's literally discrimination.
Yes.
It's
Not reverse discrimination,
Right.
actual discrimination.
yeah. I mean, for how many years we've been trying to get discrimination out of
Yes.
everything in society, and they're trying to rope it right back in with that bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care if you're from Mars. Like,
Yeah.
if I put out an ad for a job in my business and a Martian shows up and they have a Class A CDL and good qualifications, and we can understand each other's language, which I might speak Martian, I don't know, but
Right.
as long as we can do that, then I'm hiring them.
Yeah.
Right? There's no discrimination.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like do you want to have someone doing open heart surgery on you that they were hired because of DEI rules, or someone that worked their ass off, studied hard, got 4.0 straight A's, top of the class, whatever? That's what you want. You want merit based, not that other bullshit, whatever you want to call it.
I'm a pretty good weightlifter, right? But one of your clients you have here, Nathan Henry, he's a different level.
Yeah.
I shouldn't win a competition against him,
Right.
right?
Right.
He's doing things within that arena that
Yeah.
he's extremely good at, and he's worked his ass off at it. And I follow his stuff on social media and met him at your gym when you had it in Cedar Lake, and I admire how hard he works. Him and his wife both are just terrific people.
Yep.
But again, if I'm on stage with him, he should whip my ass.
Yeah.
I'm a doughy middle-aged guy, right? That I have no business being on. I can lift heavy weight and stuff, but I have no business being on stage with him.
Yeah.
No different in industry, schooling, anything. You're right. Your heart surgeon. Hey, you know what? I just graduated from community college with a C average, and I got that C average because of DEI. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Every single person should be, as Martin Luther King said, judged by the content of their character, right?
Yep.
Part of that character is how hard you work at achieving the things you want to achieve. What we instilled in our kids was that the end product is going to be all yours. How hard do you want to work? Mom and Dad, we will sacrifice whatever we can for you to give you the platform. But once the platform's there, go. You got to do it yourself. And it's no different for anybody.
That's right.
There are circumstances where people are born into poverty and other things, and we have systems in place to help address that. And we should help address that. We shouldn't ignore that. But we shouldn't create this entire system based on some crackpot author, Ibram Kendi's ideas about systemic racism, because he just made all that shit up.
Right.
That's the stuff that annoys the hell out of me. You're going to tell my daughter because her skin is white and her last name is European that she's racist? She's frickin' Puerto Rican, right? And her attitude says it.
Yeah. And I mean, usually, that's what's great about America, right? We're all immigrants,
Yeah.
and we were some of the hardest working people on the planet, right?
Well, immigrants still are
Still are. Yeah, absolutely.
very hardworking
Yeah.
people. But the scam of immigration over the Biden administration was, it wasn't to fill jobs that were open. It was to create a base of power. 2030 is the census. And in the census, Right now, the way it's executed, and there are proposals of law to change this, every person shall be counted.
I just heard this. I did not know that you even count illegal immigrants in the
Yes.
census.
So tell me that this wasn't to create a base of power where Democrats knew that they were losing their power base, they're shrinking. You bring in 11, 15, 20 million, whatever the hell that number is, we'll probably never know. And then you count them in the census in these mostly Democrat areas, they're going to gain more apportionment of House seats and take it away from
Yeah.
more rural Republican areas. And I heard a statistic recently that if you didn't count non-citizens in the census, Republicans would have up to 27 more seats in the House
Wow.
right now.
Wow.
So why do Democrats do that? Why do they open the borders now? It's not to fill jobs. See, our ancestors came over to fill jobs. They immigrated here specifically for work because the wars that we were involved in, the Civil War took out an entire generation of young men. In the early 1900s, there were several wars. And then you go into World War I, wiped out a bunch of people. World War II. So there was specific need to fill certain jobs. And still, when immigrants immigrate here for work, it's extremely good for our economy. But when you're just letting people in through this asylum system of parole to basically clog the system, the whole thing was done to break it.
Right.
Because one thing the Democrats know how to do is they can overload government systems with workload, and then they know that you don't have any chance to process it quick enough to be able to not count these people in the census, which would then give them a bigger power base. This had nothing to do with humanitarian. Are there some legit asylum seekers amongst the people that came here? Absolutely. But there's a right way to do it. And coming across the border in caravans, in brand new Nikes and brand new cell phones, that was all being funded by those NGOs that were being funded by your tax dollars.
Yep.
This whole thing was bullshit from the start. And anybody that says that it's some sort of humanitarian or Republicans are racist, nonsense. Do it the right way.
It takes away from the people that are trying to do it the right way, the ones that are standing in line going through the process.
I have a driver that works for me that is a naturalized citizen, and he did it the right way. He worked his ass off at it. It took a long time. I feel bad for people like that had to work so hard. I have, we work in agriculture, and there's a lot of people here on visas working, but they have visas. They have their cards, right? If immigration shows up at a farm, they're going to be okay
Right.
because they're here doing it the right way. They're paying taxes. They're on the books. And we've got to figure out how to just get back to some common sense when it comes to immigration. Let's fill those jobs we need to fill. It shouldn't be about whether Americans want to do it or not. Like when the Democrats say that stuff, it's so elitist. Well, who's going to serve me at my restaurant? Right? Who's going to cook my food and clean my house? What a bunch of horse shit. Who's going to pick my crops? Get your own ass out there and pick them. Get dirty. Right? It's that sort of elitist attitude that the Democrats seem to gravitate to more than the Republicans. That pisses me off. You're demeaning people that do that.
That has been a long-standing narrative where that they say that most Americans don't want to do those jobs. They don't want to do, like you say, in the farming or working at the call centers. That's why you pick up the phone and it's always somebody that's Indian or something like that, right? Because Americans don't want to do, or even on the factory line, assembling iPhones. Americans don't want to do that work. But have we really been given the opportunity to even do that work?
Not in modern times.
No.
We haven't. In old times, yeah, you had operators that were running switchboards, right? Putting one cord into the next port. That was all done by American people. It's all just such nonsense. It's a narrative that's meant to support a political ideology, and again, it's all part of that clickbait society, right? It's the media we're being sold. It's the ideology we're being sold. There's plenty of opportunity here in this country for our citizens who live here, but also for immigrants. There's a ton of opportunity. We should be that beacon, right, that people want to come to. But if you don't have an organized system and strong borders, you have no country.
Especially with the amount of commitments that have been made by companies and employers bringing things back to the U.S. for manufacturing, right? Like the big semiconductor company, what's the name of them? TMA something. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's several.
Yeah.
Kind of the re-onshoring of industry.
If that happens, we're going to need way more workers, you know?
Yeah, you're going to see a real uptick in skilled trades then, because somebody's got to build those centers.
Yeah.
A lot of those centers don't need a lot of employees to run them. But if you're manufacturing things like semiconductors or batteries or other things, those are good jobs.
Yeah.
And it's important that we have a strong workforce that is trained. I mean, my friends at one of the cool things running for Congress, I made a lot of friends in some of the unions, like the Central Midwest Carpenters. Those guys are my buddies, and I went into a couple of their union halls for meetings, and man, they grilled the shit out of me, and and I had a lot of fun doing it too, because I'm just me, right? I'm just a regular guy, and but they're looking forward to those opportunities to train people for these high-tech construction jobs, and they have the facility right here in Northwest Indiana to train all of them. Oh, it's fantastic. And it's self-funded. Like, they really invest in themselves, and those sorts of things here in Northwest Indiana. This is what we got to be focused on, is bringing that industry in, doing the right things, to make sure that we're not putting huge data centers right in the backyard of a little subdivision, right? There's time and place for everything, but to find and facilitate those sorts of industries so that we can expand our middle class here in Northwest Indiana, and we have such an incredible opportunity to do that. But if we don't get out of our own way with a terrible regulatory environment in this country and all of these rules that make it non-conducive to develop these industries here, we're going to remain stagnant.
That's a good point, because I don't know if you follow Jamie Dimon at all, who's the CEO of Chase.
JP
bit. Morgan.
I don't listen to too many banking CEOs for my information.
I don't either, but a lot of what Jamie talks about is a lot what you talk about. It's common sense approach.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he said is it should not take us 10 years worth of permitting to try and rebuild a bridge. He said, we as a country are one of the slowest countries to be able to improve our infrastructure because of all the regulations and the bureaucracy that goes on in the government.
Certain amount of that is true, but there's also a certain amount of review that's necessary. It's baked into the cake. You look at, in China recently, there's been a couple of big bridge collapses. That's because they just slap this shit up, right? They're in a hurry to get it done to stay ahead in some sort of a competition they're in. We should take our time with the right parts of it, but the regulatory environment should be such that you have a clear way to onboard into it, navigate through it, that it's efficient and low cost and consistent, right? That government's not purposely picking the winners and losers. That's communism.
Yeah.
But we have a tendency, even in this country, to lean into stuff like that. Well, I don't want that here. Well, tough shit. Did you buy the property? Do you own the property, right? Private property rights still matter. Government should be in the facilitation role that has guardrails around it to protect everybody's due process, but that doesn't hinder development.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, my opinion, hopefully AI will help with a lot of that, right? Speed things up and make things more efficient on that side.
Yeah, and in some ways, I think that could be true. I think AI has a great application in government. I think when you're applying it in industry, it's tricky because while we've always adapted as an economy, as automation has taken hold, we still have lots of opportunity. We have to be careful with AI, how much it's used and how quickly, because if it's going to take the place of folks in skilled trades and other things, you have a lot of people out of work, and the middle class can disappear. So I think applying it to things that are data driven, that are not skill driven but data driven, is smart.
Yeah.
Applying it to the skilled trades and some of those things, we need to really be careful with that.
Well, I don't want to see Terminator come to real life.
I think it is already, right? Did you see Elon's robot, the personal assistant? Like he's going to produce them and sell them for $30,000. And I'm looking at that like, do I buy a car or do I buy a robot to drive my car?
Yeah.
Holy shit. You want to talk about a game changer for people? Having something like that and the availability in the marketplace. Imagine what it does to free up someone to be more creative and entrepreneurial and things. Those are where applying things like that could be really beneficial. But if you're applying it to take the place of a person and that person has no place to go, that's going to create a dystopian society.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where they start talking about, what's it called? Where everybody gets a paycheck from the government. What's that called again?
Universal Basic
UBI.
Income.
Yeah, Universal Basic Income.
What an awful idea.
Yeah. Well, we saw it during COVID, right? When people were getting the stimulus checks. I mean, going back when, my buddy owns a bunch of apartments, and he said people were not paying their rent because they had the excuse not to because, at the time the court system was letting people off the hook.
Yeah.
But then they're walking into their units with brand new Jordans or brand new Louis Vuitton or whatever,
And the landlord who owns it, who's got bills to pay,
Right.
was sitting there trying to figure out how to rob from Peter to pay Paul within their own business to keep afloat because the government was supporting delinquency.
Yep.
What a weird time that was.
It was so weird.
I remember driving a truck when all that stuff started going down, and we were pretty busy. And some of my drivers called me and said, are we going to have to get the vaccine and wear masks? I said, no, you're in a truck. I'm not going to force anybody to take medicine or wear their masks while they're sitting in a truck. Now, if you're at a dairy processing plant and for food safety, they want you to wear a mask, just wear the damn thing, right? But I didn't force anybody to get a vaccine. I didn't take the vaccine myself because I didn't feel that there was, I know something about that mRNA process from GMOs, right? Genetically modified organisms that's been used in agriculture for a long time. It's the same process they made the shot with.
Yep.
And it's not a great process. It's caused a lot of problems. So I just didn't trust it. So I said, you know what? If somebody wants to get it, go get it.
Good for you.
But nobody should be compelled to. I'm not going to take it. And I had the bug twice, and got through it just fine. Nothing stopped me, right?
Right.
One time I had to take about 2 or 3 days off. I was having a little respiratory issue with it, but the second time it was just a sore throat.
Yep.
And
That was the same thing for me.
Yeah.
First time I lost my taste. The second time it was nothing.
yeah, and that's how I knew I had it, was the loss of taste buds. And I was like, wow, that's weird, right?
It was weird.
What a strange time we lived in, and I'm glad we're through that. But to see what happens when government overreaches, I mean, it's so kind of counterintuitive that we would force thousands of people out of the military for not taking this shot, but yet welcome millions across our border who didn't take the shot.
Yeah.
What the hell are we doing? Right? This is some of the dumbest shit that was being fed us by mainstream media and by our politicians.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Randy, I really appreciate you coming on, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, Bo. It was great to reconnect with you.
I know.
I love seeing what you've done with the gym here. This is awesome, man.
Thank you.
You're a survivor in this whole thing. You went through the rigors of it with all you've had invested in this stuff. I'm amazed and proud that you're still here.
Appreciate that.
In the grind, right? So keep doing what you're doing. And
that's the whole name of the gym, right? Grit. You got to have grit, man.
Well, you have it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate seeing what you're doing and knowing who you are. And hey, well, let's do this again sometime.
Let's do it, man. If you end up running or whatever, even if you want to just shoot the shit, I always love chatting.
Hey, listen,
with you.
sound bites from this one will live on if I run for Congress again, right?
Yeah.
That son of a bitch, right? They'll be making some sort of accusation against me. So
where can everybody find you? You're on social media?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, I'm not terribly active on Instagram. I'm a little active on Facebook right now. I have a personal, a political, and then a party page. I stayed active enough in that stuff right now. We're working on some things in the party to really ramp up here towards this midterm 2026 election cycle. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of me.
Okay. I'll be sure to add it to the show notes.
Yeah, and we'll share some of this on our platforms too to make sure we get it out. And
Awesome.
we'd love to see your influence grow as well.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, brother.
All right, man.
Yep.